Yes guys, just here back with another video, and there is a big move brewing, so I'm here just to cover the Bitcoin price. We have CPI tomorrow and then PPI on Friday, so let's just get straight away in towards the content. And as you can see here, we are in a bull flag still, so favors are on the bullish side. We're still consolidating, holding our key support levels on a higher time frame, so it's something to monitor. And it's definitely a bit tiring in terms of timing, as we've been consolidating for around 7 months now. However, this is one viewpoint on how to view the market, and you can see over here as well, there's a lot of people you can see on your Twitter timeline and on YouTube too talking about this bull flag pattern, which is another way to view it. And these are the relevant levels at the minute that I am seeing on the market, and you can see at the minute we're on key support right now after rejecting from our $66,000 region, and this is an area that we should hold, or else the next real support where demand may start kicking in is around 56k. And again, you could view this as a descending broadening wedge. And if I just zoom out a little bit, this is the weekly time frame. You can see some of the key levels that come into play once you start losing that $60,000, $55,000 area. These levels are definitely not impossible to hit. I'd say your maximum drawdown will be around that 30k region, but that will be off the back of extreme news, something that will cause the market to dip quite aggressively, similar to your 2021 crash around April into May. So that is something to actually bear in mind too. So if you have a look at your Bitcoin dominance now, you can see on a higher time frame, this is your 3-day time frame, it has still been creeping up. However, it's starting to slow down a little bit, and there is a lot of people actually looking deeper into this and suggesting that we may have some sort of alt season inevitably. So you can see over here, Bitcoin dominance is, eventually gonna find some resistance somewhere and move down. And this tweet by CryptoPool, aka Noodles, has outlined this for us. So you can see it's at resistance right now on that trend line drawn for the dominance, and we had our halving already. You can see every time that BTC dominance tops out and start moving down, you have the price actually surge exponentially, and that actually leads to the alts pumping a lot more. So that is definitely something to bear in mind. But yes, back to the charts. Let's have a look at different views for the more short term for people that trade. I have a few charts here for you guys, different scenarios to actually outline. This chart looks messy, but I'll dissect it. So you have your key highs, so your weekly highs, mid and low, and then you have your monthly high, mid and low. And these are essentially bite-sized ranges that you can actually watch to see how price responds to these levels, and they tend to get swept sometimes and reclaimed, and that provides a long opportunity. Your EMAs, you have your 9 and 18 exponential moving average on a daily time frame, and then you have a 21 weekly exponential moving average, which also support dynamic resistance levels or support levels too. So your 9 and 18 are angled down, and they provided resistance on this trend line, and you had your bear moon as a warning signal where price may come down. The consistency of these bear moons statistically throughout this range has been absolutely amazing. You had a failed signal here, however, each of the bear moons provided an indication. That was another failed signal, but most of them actually play out. So it's something that you have to pay attention to and take into consideration. So essentially you have your bull moon printing sometime next week, so I'm looking for a higher low to be formed perhaps off the back of CPI, or if we can actually come down to one of these levels, perhaps sweep a little bit, reclaim it, and actually start marking up higher. And it's the same scenario on this chart too. You have support marked out in green as well, and you are losing that at the minute, so these trend lines are to gauge momentum. And you have your 618 and 65 fib retracement, which is a golden pocket of resistance where price actually tends to just fill and aggressively start moving in the opposite direction depending on how you get there. So if you see a big kind of candle and a flash crash into that golden pocket, then I would expect a similar reaction in the opposite direction. It's kind of like throwing a bouncing ball straight at the floor. You're gonna get a similar reaction in the opposite direction. So there's that for that scenario. And worst case scenario, I'd say for the short term, you can expect us to come down to this key support level, and then you can see that you can wick down to around 50-40 for your CME gap. However, it's just something to watch for. So I'd say if you have a lot of limit orders in this region here, it's likely that we can respond higher, as statistically you have a positive Q4. So I expect us to more likely play out the scenario where we actually start marking up off the back end of this year. So if you go back to the weekly chart on this time frame here, so you can see I do expect this scenario where we actually start marking up pretty soon, since this has been a very long consolidation pattern. So that's pretty much it for the charts. You have your DXY2 actually last thing. So your DXY, you were in a range on the short term, nice falling wedge. So this is a reversal pattern, so you did come off of negative momentum. However, you consolidated a little bit, created a range, looked like you were losing that level, and DXY looked really weak at this point. But once you started to break up and shift that momentum shown by the trend line, reclaimed that mid-range and you're really open, then you broke out, spent some time, multiple closing candles above this area here, and it's just gone very, very high. So this is actually your 6-hourly time frame, and on this side you have your monthly, and I'll just make the support a bit more easier to see. So these charts are synced, that's why I've done that, but you can see that you've bounced off that key support. You are in a high time frame. This is your monthly time frame. You're in a rising channel, rising parallel channel, which is a bearish bias pattern. So you are looking for a breakdown of DXY, which just means that it's going to allow easier pressure for Bitcoin to move up in the higher time frame, since rates are coming down, or projected to be coming down in the immediate short term. But you can see here that you have a lot of support in this area. So obviously this takes a long time to actually play out. However, it is something I'm watching, and you're coming to that middle point. So if I actually change the color of this, you can see that mid-range a bit more easier. So a scenario where you push up into it and then start coming down, it's definitely something to watch, a viable option. And you may be able to use some sort of trend line to actually snap that point where you have the high being formed. So that's that for DXY. Now moving on to more of the on-chain data, you can see in the short term liquidity has been swept. However, if you go to your 1 week for the liquidation heat map, you will see that there is still a lot of liquidity above us. However, again, the different scenarios, you can come down, sweep a bit of this. So let's go to the 1 month, actually give us a bit more of a holistic view. So whilst that loads, I'll look at the funding rates. You have your funding rates extremely low, sometimes even negative for some exchanges, just showing that majority are short in the market. A lot of your altcoins are negative too. So you can see CHT is extremely negative, showing that shorts are getting confident. Majority of people are short, and I'll say slightly neutral at the minute looking at your fear and greed index. However, we are coming off of fear from last week and last month, and we've just creeped up to the neutral territory. However, if we crash down a bit lower, we can just return to that fearful state. And as you know by your Wall Street cheat sheet and the statistics, 90% of traders are actually wrong. So it's something to observe, and if majority are short, it does indicate that if we do start to get that spike higher, there's liquidity to be taken to the upside, which just fuels the fire. You have a short squeeze scenario, and that just allows price to actually rally to those all-time highs. You can see Bitcoin always moves to the majority of the liquidity. So recently you had about 163 million swept as 62,200 and a bit more below 2. Recently did highs 2, you had a bit of liquidity taken. We didn't quite make it to 65k. However, we went for the liquidity below, so we could just start to move up if we can find some support at the previous month's mid. So just moving on to bit of crypto news. You can see here by Wizard of Soho that ALT are actually getting destroyed while stocks are pumping. So CPI is something to watch tomorrow, as if it does come in quite hot, it can have a big effect on the market. Moving on, you can see a bit of more crypto news. You had your FBI actually create a token to catch fraudsters for market manipulation, which is crazy. So it can be looked at under a bullish light, where they're using crypto for a positive reason, and this actually has worked. So you can see on the bubbles map, you have the kind of visual explanation of what's actually happened, and how they were able to actually set that trap for them to actually get into the coin. So it's actually something funny and something to watch, and I'll update it on the next video. And you can see over here that Kevin Sevenson, hopefully I've said that right, he said, I have a feeling there's something entirely wrong in the industry based on today's FBI news. BTC's price action doesn't make sense when considering that the S&P performance has been so good. So S&Ps are at highs today. It's made all-time highs consecutively for the past few months. However, we've been consolidating for so long. So of course, I did mention that your lower targets are not off the table. It's something to just watch. So I'll be prepared for any scenario, to be honest. One way I'm doing that is just adjusting my spot holdings and just making sure that if we do get some sort of a flash dip, I am prepared for that scenario. So it's something to bear in mind. However, I don't think it's anything to worry about, as the statistics are in favor for us to actually set all-time highs by the end of this year. And a bit of funny news here, we have Andrew Tate still shilling his coin. So there's been a lot of talk about Murad and this meme coin super cycle. So it is true, and it's something I'll also be covering in another video soon. So you have your bubbles here too from the Crypto Banter team, and you can see on the monthly your altcoins aren't doing too bad. Mainly your meme coins, and you can see Nero, this coin here, it's been doing extremely well. And you have Popcat here, you have a few other meme coins, so Shib as well. It's interesting, it's something to watch. You can't really ignore these meme coins actually pulling in these sizable gains compared to some other meme coins in the top 100. So yeah, I'll just keep an eye on the market and see if there's strength being shown. If we can form some sort of higher low in the short term, then off the back of some good CPI news, we can see if we can break above the previous month's high and start to mark up aggressively. So that's it for me. Thanks for watching the video. There'll be more videos coming soon. Had a bit of a long break, however there's literally been nothing happening, just been ranging a lot. So Yeah, I think now is the time to pay attention though. There's a lot of news pointing towards us actually breaking to the upside aggressively. So it's not the time to actually lose focus at the minute. It's time to actually pay attention to the market more closely, which I am doing now. And I just felt like it's the right time to come back and start to upload more consistently. So that's it for me. Any comments and questions, leave it down below. And I'll see you guys in the next update video. Have a good one.